In this video, I want to talk to you about something you may have overlooked, and that is the length of the MIDI note. Depending on the type of instrument that you're playing, the length of the MIDI note can be super important. So don't overlook this, and I'm going to show you a few reasons why. Let's look at region number 1. In this region, all the MIDI notes are legato. That means that every MIDI note ends exactly where the next note begins. So they're squished next to each other. This is what it sounds like. It's a cool bass line, but this bass line could be majorly improved by playing around with the length of the MIDI notes. Let's look at MIDI region number 2. On this one, I have the same bass line as MIDI region 1. However, in this one, I've randomly changed the ending of each note, so they're just totally random lengths. Same exact bass line, but it doesn't sound very good. Because the notes have totally random different lengths, it almost sounds like it was played poorly or you just lose the groove.
You threw off my groove!
Because ending a note is a rhythmic element. So when you start a note, that is a type of rhythm. And then when you end a note, that's another rhythmic signal that you're sending into the song. Even though you're just not playing anything, you're just releasing. But that release makes a pretty big difference rhythmically. It almost sounds like these are not quantized or they're like played out of time. They are perfectly quantized at the entrance, but the exit is off. And so that's why that doesn't sound that great. Let's go into MIDI region number 3. Again, it's the same bass line, but instead of having legato or every MIDI note go right up to the next note, we have a little bit more space now. But each note isn't exactly the same length either. There is some variation, but also some consistency. Some of the notes, like this first E, is an 8th note, while this C is a quarter note. So I have two different lengths, 8th notes and quarter notes, and I'm just sort of switching between the two. Let's listen to this one. So there already we have a little bit more of like a groove to it as compared with the just legato region, region number 1. The space that you're creating in between the notes lets the rhythmic elements of the drums come through a little bit more, makes it a bit more bouncy. So the first region, when everything was legato, was much less bouncy and like sort of fun. Skip to number 3. Pretty cool. Let's move on to MIDI region number 4. Here, I have the same 8th note and quarter note divisions as I did in MIDI region number 3. However, I've only added one tiny ghost note. You can see down here, this G. So this is in between these other two Gs. And it's just a really short, like 64th note. And what that does is it gives just a little bit of a hiccup in that spot. I think that sounds cool. And you don't want too much of this because then it might sound a little too stuttery, but just one little hint like this is kind of neat. Now let's move on to MIDI region number 5. This one we're starting to get a little bit more complex. If I zoom in here on this B, you can see that I added a B octave lower and I slid it before the B. Let's go back to Serum. This is in monophonic and it's in legato. That means two notes that are played overlapping will ramp into each other. So if I go back to my MIDI region, because this lower B is played before the normal B, it's going to ramp up into that higher B. And I think it adds a little bit of juice to this. I also added those little stutters at the end. To be honest, I don't really like it. Now let's move on to MIDI region number 6. What I've added in this MIDI region is one section with some triplets. A normal bar is divided into 4 beats in a 4/4 time signature. Triplets, we're dividing it into 3. Just use Command 3 on a Mac or Control 3 on a PC. And that allows you to see the triplet divisions in the bar. Command 1 and 2 increases or decreases the bar resolution. So if I decrease this a little bit, now we can see 3 divisions in one bar. So on this little run, I have a low E, and then a D, and an E. And those are the 3 triplet notes that occur in that bar. With this one also, I added an extra ramp down on this note. This high B goes down to this low D. I don't really love that either, but that's what I did. And then at the end, I have these shorter triplets. And on the very last note, this very last E, I did something that I'm just starting to explore, and that's changing the slide control. And you can access the slide control in the expressions tab. That's the 3rd tab up here in the clip view. Inside each MIDI note, you can change the slide. So I have it starting, you know, at 0, whatever, and sliding all the way down. This is almost like creating an automation. Here's the end, -42 semitones. It's almost like creating an automation, but you can do it on each note, which is cool. And I'm going to make an entire video all about using the slide in the expression tab. So stay tuned for that. Now, is any one of these 6 MIDI regions better or worse than another one? I mean, number 2 kind of sucks. But aside from that, any of these are cool. Number 6 might be too much going on. Number 1 might just need like 1 note taken out to give you that sense of breathing. This is not to say that there's one right way and one wrong way to produce MIDI. Obviously not. However, I hope this video encourages you to explore changing the lengths of your MIDI notes as a major rhythmic element in your song. So don't just think legato and that's it, my day's over. Make sure that you're intentional about the length of your MIDI notes, and that will really increase the professionalism and rhythmic interest of your songs, especially if you're doing bass and lead sounds. Just be aware that the length of the MIDI notes is going to make a pretty big difference.
Am I still streaming?
Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps me, and I'll see you guys next time.